Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I'm your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
And I'm your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
Would it... Kristian!
You've left us on our own.
Kristian will be here shortly. He is caught up at work, but he will be joining us before too much longer. Do a little run-in. Meanwhile, we've got Wreck Ship 85 and Agent Chuckles hanging out. Here we go. Got a big episode, lots to talk about. I've got to move one of my topics because it ended up being a sound off. So we'll just save that for later. For right now, I'll say you can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast and on X at G.I. Joe Audible. You can look at our banners at the bottom of the screen and support us in the super chat. It is the most direct way to contribute to the show to help us pay for hosting and anything else that we do here. And I'll tell you right now, we're not breaking even. It isn't happening. So throw us a little something in the super chat and we'll engage, read your comment, or, honestly, even if you don't, we'll still do those things. Wherever you're listening to the audio version of this episode, which will be available this Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, please follow Audible Interlude. Leave us a 5-star review. Tell your friends about Audible Interlude. Let them know there's this G.I. Joe podcast where most of the time they talk about G.I. Joe, but sometimes every once in a while they talk about Popples. It happens. This is Popple Interlude. So right now you're watching us live. And generally, every other Monday-ish, we do a live stream. However, our next live stream is going to be next Monday, November the 11th. Put it on your calendar. We will be reviewing G.I. Joe #1 from Skybound live right here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. Very excited about that comic. Noel, have you read our advanced copy yet?
I have not.
I haven't had time. I want to. It's
definitely haven't had time, but I'm looking forward to digging into it. I'm going to try to get into it early so I can go through it a couple times and make some notes.
We'll try to have it read before next Monday. Maybe we'll read it live.
Oh, no, do a live table read.
That sounds like a terrible idea. Although we do, it's funny you mentioned table reads because I've got a little something I'm cooking up here. So I'll drop that little nugget out there and people can make what they want of it. So there it is, November 11th, G.I. Joe #1 live stream. And also on the Needless Things YouTube channel, last night I posted a great interview with Darren Howlett of Whiskey Jack Toys. We talked about Legends of the Hidden Force. We talked about his new Chaos Kickstarter. And we talked about the origins of Call Sign Longbow. Had a great conversation about retro toys, about pop culture. Wreck Ship 85. Question, is Dave a good cook? Answer, Dave is not a good cook. Dave does not enjoy cooking. Actually,
this guy does.
Dave does not enjoy cooking. It remains to be seen if Dave is a good cook. Noel, however, is the roadblock of Audible Interlude. Look at this, Brian Hoffman hanging out tonight. What is going on, Grand Hoff Tarkin? Darren is a great dude. It was one of those interviews where I kind of got to a point where I was like, all right, well, we're going to go for about 6 more hours if I don't stop now. So we found a good stopping point, which also there were storms in Canada that were causing us some problems. But that's okay. We got a good hour in and went all over the place with O-rings and retro toys. Coming this week on the Needless Things YouTube channel, obviously you're watching the live stream right now, but my reviews of Nemesis Immortal, let's get rid of this, who I absolutely love. What a big, creepy, wonderful horror figure. It reminds me of when Toy Biz kind of started going crazy and letting the Four Horsemen and some of the other sculptors really get wild and do their thing. The creativity in this guy, some of the decisions that were made. I'm a big fan of this one. Also, my review of Albert Pine and his lack of backpack, but I happen to have an extra dusty backpack that I think works pretty well. But there's old Albert Pine. And bringing up the rear this week, our, I guess, new model Iron Grenadier, who's pretty classy, but I've definitely got some issues with the
And
way
you
they executed this one.
you got all those from Big Bad, right? Or at least IG and Alpine, because mine haven't. I haven't gotten a whisper of them shipping from Pulse yet.
All of these, well, and this guy will be kicking off next week. All of these came from Big Bad. Storm Shadow is in my pile of loot, but I've got other stuff coming in. So like I don't want to pay even though it's $4, I don't want to pay the shipping for Storm Shadow. And also I've got toy reviews lined up for the next like 2 weeks. So I don't need, like, I'm not in need of another one, you know?
Yeah, I just finally shipped my pile of loot with my Crimson Twins Reaction Plus, and then I got my Studio Series 86 Optimus, but also got this little guy who, he's a very cool little Hot Wheels Optimus
I
Prime.
had that ordered and then I decided I really didn't need it, but really for $10, I should have just left it on there.
It's $10. The transformable one was like, I just couldn't justify spending $80 for it, first of all, and also they also sold out in like 2.3 milliseconds. So Hot Wheels collectors are nuts.
Yeah, they are. Well, I mean, those are the ones when I worked at KB Toys and at Toys R Us. Those were the ones that were there at like 3:00 in the morning, like pulling on the gates to get in. They're. I'm just gonna say this because I don't want to disparage any collectors here on the show, but those guys are freaking nuts. All right, guys and gals. We had a truck driver that would show up at KB that knew through the whole truck driver communication system, like when the trucks came in, and she would be there every morning when we got a shipment in, looking for those Hot Wheels like crack. We have shirts available. Another way to support the show, really more physically than financially, because we get like nothing from shirt sales, but we just want people wearing Audible Interlude gear.
Now, you want to see Audible Interlude shirts in the wild. Come on, yes, how exciting is that?
That's right. Snap a picture for social media and put it up, tag us, and we'll share it, or not if you don't want us to. Or maybe say, hey, look, you can share this, but put a Joe head on me. We'll do that. I can. I have basic Photoshop skills. We can make that.
We'll put Classified Falcon's face over your face.
Yes, that's perfect. That's exactly what we'll do. Wreckship 85, you Warriors today at the aquarium. Well, I didn't see a picture and pics, or it didn't happen. So now what you have to do, you've got to double down. You've got to order another shirt, go back to the aquarium, wear the shirt you already have, and then put the new shirt on a dolphin, and we'll give you credit for that.
Or an otter.
Or an otter, yes. Or you can get a onesie. Their Audible Interlude onesies are an option on TeePublic. Go to Audible Interlude Instagram, Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram. Go to the pinned stories. That'll take you to the TeePublic store. Get yourself an Audible Interlude onesie. Take it to the aquarium and put it on your favorite otter or penguin. I'll accept a penguin as well.
But we are not responsible for what happens to you when security sees you do these things.
No, we're not. Oh wow, we can't do this yet because Kristian has G.I. Joe #1 comic news, but Kristian is not here yet. So we are going to have to figure out something else to talk about. I'll tell you this, I wish I'd brought it over here with me. There is a company called Hasbro Toys that is making, it's one of the many companies that are releasing like WWF Hasbro style figures. And they did a Mark Maro. You know what? Noel, you're on your own for about 27 seconds.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Completely on my own. Okay, well, all right. Well, I'm here. I've got stuff. I've got things. I was just talking to Dave about, as you know, life has been busy. I've had a very, hard time keeping up with all my hobbies. As a big Lego collector, as some of you know, I just picked up 2 years worth of bulk lug that I get through a Lego users group I'm in. And this is just one bag. This is one of the bigger bags that I had. And now I'm just trying to figure out how to sort it all. And so I've spent the last like 24 hours in a frenzy of trying to reconfigure my whole sorting apparatus here in this basement, and I don't have time to do this. Why
No,
am
none
I
of us have
taking this
time.
on?
None of us have time for anything. So just real quick, this is the Mark Maro figure, Hasbro style figure, and man, it is almost perfect. Like it could be a little shinier. I haven't opened it yet. I'm probably going to do a review. I went live with the call sign Longbow Ghost and had a lot of trouble getting the camera to focus on it. It was it's the most frustrating review I've ever done. And I thought at one point I was like, oh, is it because it's so smaller figure? But I did all the Super 7 Reaction Plus figures. I've done smaller figures before. So I don't know what the problem was, but I might go live with this guy because it looks so good. I really want to pop it open and review it. So at some point this week, I might do a live review of that, which of course is what we talk about here on the G.I. Joe podcast.
Has WWE done any Mark Maro figures? I don't think they probably have any good relationship with him at all after, because I would love to see a Johnny B. Bad figure.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's Johnny B. Bad. I would love a Wildman Mark Maro. I would love Boxing Trunks Mark Maro. Like, he's got a lot of really toyetic looks, and he's, I mean, he was a big character in his era.
Yeah.
And look, never say never. I mean, look, they brought back Ultimate Warrior. They brought back Bret Hart. They brought like Triple H has mended fences with so many different people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't surprise me a bit to see Mark Maro, especially now.
Especially if it's just a merch deal too. That's, I mean, if it's something like that, you don't have to interface with the
and that's what they're doing now. They did that deal with the Headbangers. The Headbangers have new figures right now, so they're bringing back some of the like mid card guys like that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Maro. Let's see, what do we got? We've got a bunch of people asking questions without supporting us in the super chat, but that's okay. I like this one. Brian Hoffman, I might be able to get you an otter or a duck. I'd like to see that. We like geese too. Bring us a goose and we'll give you a goose's loose button. Scale Model Joe's, which G.I. Joe or Cobra should have come with an otter or a penguin? I mean, I think Iceberg's the obvious choice to have come with a penguin.
I think Goose, by the way, would have to ride shotgun in your Sky Striker.
Oh, you're right. Ace needs a pet goose. Yeah, Iceberg needs a penguin because I mean, look, he was a low accessory count figure. They could have thrown a penguin in there, no problem. Or I take it back, no penguin with Iceberg. Instead, we get Arctic Dr. Mindbender with a bunch of penguins with rockets and lasers strapped to them.
Tim Burton would sue you.
Yes. Look, Mattel, or no, I guess McFarlane. Well, no, McFarlane may do penguins from Batman Returns. Let's hope. Kenner did them and did them well. Maybe McFarlane will get around to that. And an otter, I mean, really? Stalker, version 2 Stalker with an otter to sit on his kayak would be kind of cool. I'd be down with that. Or who was the guy that came with like a raft?
No, it was
I think Sarah did the costume, right?
Yes, Tracker. Tracker is his name.
Is he? Yeah. He's like a river guy, though.
He was a Navy SEAL, but he had a big inflatable.
Well, that's what I was trying to determine: was he ocean or river?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's I guess he does a little everything. Because he does land, air, and sea. What was it a little baby polar bear that walked upright in that one Deke episode that we watched with the Sky Patrol?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
we could justify a baby polar bear. I don't think I can justify the full size one though. Jeff Butler says, I think Bulk Lug was a 1987 character, wasn't he? Rexship says Topside should come with a penguin. Yeah, that would work. That would work. Yorktown Joe, will the Audible Interlude podcast, Bail Bond Fund LLC, help with the Zoo T-shirt marketing frenzy? If anybody ends up incarcerated due to their illegal interactions with zoo animals, we will produce a zoo shirt to help with your legal funds. It will not help at all, but we'll do it. Rexship 85. Now I want to see Tim Burton G.I. Joe movie. I do not. Okay. All right. We got to move along here. We got to dip into some news. We'll come back around when Kristian shows up. He's unpredictable. There's no telling when he'll be here. So now it is time for some news. So right now, you can go to Skeletron.com and get this set. I think it's still in stock. Let me check. Or actually, Noel, while I'm talking, go to Skeletron.com and see if this is still available. So this is all three of the retro style O-ring figures that have come from these manufacturers. You can get them right now with the pack of invisible battle stands. These have been out of stock for a while. They're back now. And I think it's $92 for this full set, which, I'll be honest, low pricey, but you're not going to get them cheaper, and they're fantastic figures.
Yes, you can still order the Ghost on its own, or the bundle with Ghost, Wolf Trooper, Skeletron, and stands for $132.
Oh wait, the bundle's $132?
That's reading in Canadian, so it's
okay.
I'm on a
VPNs. Still trying to order Legos from Canadian Toys R Us. So yeah, I think it's $92 American, and I believe the Ghost is $26.99 by itself. So the prices have gone up a little bit, which we knew they would after the Kickstarters. If you don't back this stuff in the up front, you're going to pay a higher price for it later on. That's as it should be. But you can check out the Needless Things YouTube channel. I reviewed the Skeletron figure and the just recently the Ghost, and they're awesome. Yorktown Joe says, for those who do not have these, do not hesitate. That's right, because as we all know, he who hesitates misses out.
Take off, scale model Joes.
Noel has been called a hoser. I'm glad Bergie's not here. He might be legitimately offended, or Darren for that matter.
Yeah,
we our brothers across the border. We've got to stand up for them. All right. In other news, we've got a first test shot of Lancer from Call Sign Longbow, looking pretty cool. Got some, you notice some weapons in that shot as well. And then the weapon accessories for Lancer, Volk, Uptown, and the Gru Spetsnaz Trooper. Very cool stuff from Call Sign Longbow. I'm super stoked for these figures. Sometime in the next year, look, we know this stuff takes time. They want to get them right. They're doing everything the right way. And I would like to point out, look, I love Super 7's Reaction Plus figures. I love them. But I would like to point out on this Ghost right here, ooh, look at those color-coordinated rivets. Very nice. Very
nice. Wish some other companies would be doing that.
Well. Call Sign Longbow also received an updated production schedule from their factory partners, though they'd hoped to have more items completed and ready to ship before the end of the year. Their overseas team has informed them that they will not be complete in time. Based on the latest information provided, they're now expecting additional figures to deliver sometime in spring 2025. The scheduled production is expected to include 6 additional figures. Specifically, they plan to produce Lancer, Volk, Uptown, Gru Spetsnaz Trooper, Outlaw, and Krasny Ninja, which is the one I'm most excited for, in this group. We've seen tooling for these figures, and we'll continue to share more details as we have them. And look, huge props to all these companies. We say it every time we do one of these updates, but their transparency, I think, has been commendable. They've shared updates every single time they've gotten them. They've let us know the progress every step of the way. It's not like, if you've been around Kickstarter for a long time, a lot of these toy campaigns kind of go silent for months at a time. And we haven't seen that from any of these Skeletron, Grindstone Toys, Whiskey Jack. Like, they've all been on top of their updates. Once that wave of 6 figures has been fulfilled, the additional items will come afterwards are Henchman, Tracksuit, MTF, Retro Ops, Steel Web Shock Trooper, Adapt Trooper, and Resupply Pack number 1. They will continue to share more about those items as they have the details. So, again, when with the crowdfunding, it takes time. It just does. And when it gets here, it gets here. We also have, outside of the excellent Needless Things Creator Series interview with Darren Howlett that went up last night on the channel, we also have an update from Legends of the Hidden Force. Just a quick update for everyone. After receiving the first drafts of painted samples, almost every figure needed some amount of tweaking. At this point, only one figure requires major adjustments, and the rest are almost approved. They've also run into a snag with accessories. The factory informed them that they cannot injection mold in silver or gold, meaning that those color piece requires painting, which in turn affects how the weapons assemble. They're working to find a quick solution that will not compromise the quality of the product. If you want a bunch of great shots of the Legends of the Hidden Force figures, again, that interview with Darren from last night is available now. We go into great detail about the production on a lot of these figures. And I'm just excited. The stuff all looks great. Can't wait to get it in hand. But we're going to have to. And then finally, we have got a Robo Skull update. The Robo Skull official tracker now estimates the first container will be at their Red Shadows, New Jersey port on November 7th, just 3 days from today, which is a few days behind the original estimate. Once received at port, their container will need to clear customs and be trucked over to New Jersey Fulfillment Center, where their RoboSkull Mark IIs will be shipped around the world. Their second container, containing the Mark II SEs and the flight stands, currently has a port ETA of November 16th. The dates come from Global Logistics Software. They don't know how accurate they really are. And then those containers will be followed by 2 additional containers, currently also estimated to land in November. So all the Robo Skull stuff is for the next phase is on the way and should be maybe not received by the end of the year, but potentially shipping by the end of the year, which is good news. All right. Noel, are we ready for some, at long last, 20 minutes into the show, G.I. Joe news?
G.I. Joe news? That sounds great.
Who are those guys? All right, so
I thought we were going to talk about Popples again.
I mean, we will. Don't threaten me with a good time. So we had a couple of events over the last couple of weeks. We didn't have enough news out of either one of them to do a live stream last Monday. We figured we'd save it up for this week. So we've got a few things to talk about. First, at MCM, we got to look at the Frag Viper. And I really hate that we're not all here because the Frag Viper and Blowtorch are characters we've talked about quite a few times. But Noel, what is your familiarity with this guy, and what do you think of this look?
I mean, this is way after my collecting time as in my youth. Not somebody I have a lot of attachment to. They did a pretty darn good job of just replicating that old weird 1991, 92. When did this figure come out? And yeah, just said he's got his little highlight like grenade launcher. I love the fact that they kept that in there. And I like the little bit of gloss he's got to his helmet there. He looks really good. I don't know if I'm going to order him just because I'm trying to cut back on, things outside of a certain range at this point in time, just because of logistics at this point. But I could definitely see a couple of these guys hanging out with my Alley Vipers.
Well, and I like the choice they made to put the 2 different shades of blue on there instead of it all being that light blue that's on the original figure. This is a good classified update, in my opinion. Yep. Now, what I wonder, if you notice, so he's got the 1 grenade with the throwing effect that's been activated, but then he's got 9 grenades in his backpack. I got to think those are all loose pieces, right?
I mean, I can't tell. They look like they're just molded in from where I'm
they do,
at,
but I mean, surely
Well, and
They would have just regular grenades.
the one that's got, yeah, I mean, the one that's got the blast effect or whatever on it it's got painted details on it, and those are just plain black. So I don't know if
Well,
those are.
no, but what I'm saying is that one, I think it's got that red on it because it's been activated, and the
Ah,
other ones have not been. Like that's a light up feature that the not that the toy lights up, but
right.
like
But
the actual real life grenade. I would hope, although he doesn't have a hand to hold a grenade with,
yeah,
so I don't know. But I would like to think those might come out. Wreckship 85. I'm wondering what's going to be under the Frag Viper's helmet. Lenny told me it and Blowtorch's mask helmets come off. When are you talking to Lenny? You stay away from my fella, you cheap hussy. Rachel says the Frag Vipers need their leader, Cobra Letal.
Letal.
Letal. That sounds like a late '80s tennis company competing with Varney.
It's his brother Jay Letal has been a wrestler for a while.
Yeah, I dig this look though. I'm excited about this one. It looks like a fun, unique thing, and I certainly don't feel the need to troop build, which is another good feature. Next up, we've got Blowtorch, who, I mean, I don't think I could imagine him looking any better than this in Classified.
Yeah, he's about what I figured. He does take cues from the 25th,
For
where
sure.
he's got a lot more color variation. Whereas, I mean, our classic figure is just what, yellow and red, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and if a figure at this scale was just yellow and red, it would look weird. Which, granted, we're probably going to have the opportunity to find out what that looks like, because I can't imagine they won't do a retro card back release of this that's just yellow and red. But I really like the extra detailing. I think it is still Blowtorch, but it looks right at this scale. Wreckship 85 has a good point, though. Where's the pork chop sandwich?
Yeah, would have been nice. And he's got Torch's backpack, so they are reusing that.
Yeah, no reason not to. Rachel says the original Frag Viper had molded. Well, of course, that was a tiny little figure. You wouldn't want separate grenades. Just imagine the Big Ben purse nightmare that we all had. Scale Model Joe's. Yes, I really do want 9 loose grenades to lose. No, seriously though, I feel like he needs to have an inert grenade. Like that just seemed that's his thing. What do you? All right, we're gonna go back.
Even if you just had one hand that had the grenade molded into it, I would actually be okay with that.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that too. But I feel like just having the activated grenade, like we need just a grenade for him to hold. But again, he doesn't have a grenade holding hand. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Maybe Wreckship had speculated about what's under the helmet. Maybe there's a hand with a grenade in it under that helmet. Like what was that movie Saturn V with the robot with the hand for a head? That always creeped me out.
I don't know.
I think that was Saturn V. Let's see. Oh, the Scale Model Joe says the O-ring Frag Viper had 2 separate grenades that could peg onto the backpack. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Actually, 3 it looks like. So yeah, I'm hoping those are separate pieces. All right, so back to Blowtorch. As you pointed out, he's got Torch's backpack. No reason he shouldn't. That same hose that, on the one hand, why wouldn't it be the same hose? But on the other hand, that thing's getting old. I do like his flamethrower, though.
Yeah. And I'm glad they kept it in that same green shade.
Yes, I agree. So cool. Good for future render reveals. I guess those are going to be coming out sometime in 2026, given the current schedule.
Good for old Timothy Hanrahan to finally make his way. I think he was. Didn't we determine he was the only single carded Joe between 82 and 84 that hasn't yet? Well, never mind, because we have all the 82 figures that have not been released.
Right. Yeah. I think it was just that he was the only 85.
85.
No, 84.
He's 84, yeah.
He's 84. The only 84 that hadn't come out. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. All right. We had another event on 10/27 that, quite frankly, just didn't deliver very much, but we got a couple talking points here. First of all, I wanted to discuss the timing of the 10/27 event, because initially I felt like G.I. Joe really got short shrift compared to everything else. I wrote
Wait,
down
is that a surprise to you at this point?
Well, considering they've referred to it as their top brand, yeah, a little bit.
Well, it's like they're going to shove it at the beginning and give them a strict time frame that everybody else gets looser on, or they're going to shove them at the end when they've already
Run
run
out
out
of
of time. So,
right. So Joe ran from 1:48 in to 18:12 in. So roughly 16 and a half minutes for G.I. Joe. Transformers, however, ran from 18:13 to 41:45. So they got a pretty big fat chunk of time there. Ghostbusters, who again, yes, have some, got the honor of hanging out with the Ghostbusters Kickstarter, HasLab. Sorry, I've got Kickstarter on the brain. Which, by the way, we should check in on that real quick. Ghostbusters Plasma Series Ectomobile moving slow, 8851. However, they did update it now so that if it reaches the goal, Lewis Tully happens along with the whole rest of the thing, which I think is good.
On that Transformers panel, I got to talk about that Devastator because.
Okay, let's go.
So they are releasing those figures 2 at a time. They're doing
now. How big are these? Like,
so
are these?
they're going to be Deluxe and Voyager class, which is the $25 and the $39 scale, roughly, depending on which figure they are and what accessories they come with. They're going to be, individual figures are going to be about 7 inches tall.
That's going to be a
6,
big
7 inches tall.
Devastator.
Well, yeah. They showed it next to the Motormaster, and it's like a slightly taller. It's like maybe about an inch taller total. And it looks like it's going to be great. However, the way they're releasing this thing, doing these two, and then they're going to do the 2 in the 2-pack, and then they're going to do the last 2 solo. But they acknowledged that with Motormaster, they had the problem with the breakdown figure not getting distribution. So a bunch of people are out there watching this, talking about this same marketing plan, while they're apologizing for all these people who are sitting out there with their Motormaster missing a limb.
Well, it's the same thing that happened with the mass device in the 25th.
Yeah.
People had mass devices missing the cannon because that set ended up being very difficult to find.
But just knowing that makes me it's
infuriating.
Well, I said I'm not going to order any of these figures because I don't want to risk having, a Devastator missing a body part.
Right.
So
these toy companies who've been making the same mistakes for 20 years now, if not longer, it boggles my mind. Like after hey, what's up? Okay, we got an update. Wait, apparently Kristian has been communicating with Yorktown Joe. Kristian's running a bit later than planned. He's at work, so the IT guys are leaving a webcam, but it wasn't where he said. Anyway, getting hooked up now. Kristian will be here any minute. And Road Pig John in the house. Road Pig John, the most decent and honorable of G.I. Joe fans. Yeah, it's infuriating. Like the mass device should have been the last time Hasbro ever let that happen. They should have learned that lesson then, and it never should have happened again. But here we are, multiple times later, we've had this exact same issue, and it's ridiculous. Okay, so Ghostbusters went about 20 minutes on one item, which seemed excessive to me.
It can't be stressed how much I will buy a stupid Devastator just because it's a stupid Devastator. And I'm going to skip this one.
Dude, I almost got... Did you see the Super 7 reaction Devastator in the wacky colors? It's like yellow and...
So the yellow... Is it yellow like the Tonka style one or the Gen 2 style one, or is it one in different colors like the Diaclone one?
It is. Hang on. It just looks so cool to me, and it's 7 inches, so it scales with, or I'm sorry, 6 inches, so it scales with your other reaction
Oh, yeah.
figures. Hang on, I'm gonna do a little screen share because I
Yeah, I
want
know
you
the
to
one
see
you're talking
this.
about here.
Oh, do you see it?
The Wrecking Crew Devastator.
That guy.
Yep.
I really like that because to me that's, I don't know, it's just more toyetic.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
much as I love me a green and purple Devastator, obviously, that's just very appealing.
Yeah,
But I'm
that
not
one.
kidding.
So that's the Diaclone original full look on those
Oh,
before they imported
really?
them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Inspired by the original Japanese toy from the 1980s and features the Constructicon Warrior in yellow, orange, and blue colorway. Includes a Magna laser accessory and packed in oversized window box packaging. Yeah, I just this is why I love Super 7. That kind of stuff exactly. Okay. Oh, my notes went away. Holy cow. There we go. Okay, so Star Wars, who you guys, Star Wars is not doing so well right now at Hasbro. I don't know that the partnership between Lucasfilm and Hasbro is going all that well, but Star Wars got 6 minutes. 6 minutes. One of the most profitable franchises in the history of the universe has been, and look, I don't like to be mean or too critical, but Hasbro has driven this thing into the ground so badly that they only, or Lucasfilm, it's probably not
Say,
Hasbro's fault. It's
yeah.
probably Lucasfilm's fault.
Well,
Lucasfilm
yeah.
has put handcuffs on Hasbro so badly that 6 minutes was enough to cover Star Wars. And then finally, Marvel, who to a certain extent has also been sort of the belle of the ball lately, 19 minutes. So really, it was slightly more equitable than I thought it was. Like nobody got a ton of time. Even Transformers, like when you consider it may not be the highest performing brand right now, but it's definitely, I think, got the most brand recognition of anything that Hasbro has in house.
I mean, it's their evergreen brand because
Right.
it's the one that's been consistently successful for. I'm trying to think of like really they haven't had a lot of lulls since Beast Wars launch, so it's been almost
Right.
30 years.
So like, they didn't even get half an hour.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But we've got some stuff to talk about with G.I. Joe. I have not watched the full interview because I just have not had time. But Lenny did an interview with Joshua Williamson, who's the writer on many of the Skybound comics, including the upcoming G.I. Joe #1. They talked about Nemesis Immortal and the fact that, because we had talked about, is Skybound influencing Hasbro design or vice versa? How closely are they working together? So they knew he was being used in the comic before they had the figure designed, and then Skybound received the figure design from Hasbro and incorporated that into the comic. So Skybound creatively is using the characters how they decide, but the designs are coming from Hasbro.
But they got to go a whole couple issues before they even revealed what he looked like anyway, so it was all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could just
And that was part of the
do a good trench
conversation
coat. Yeah.
was Lenny kind of enjoying that reveal of like, what is this bearded guy? What is going to end up happening here? The full interview is available on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube, and it was fun. Lenny actually pulled out you know what? I got a screenshot of this and I forgot to put it in, but he pulled out this like big piece of chitin from some creature in his office that he's using for reference on toy designs, which I love. And I did have my screenshots for this. So we got our Nemesis Immortal, which granted the figure's sitting right here now, which is fantastic, by the way. Huge props to Hasbro for having this guy just in stock, ready to ship. Now, they lose some points for using DHL. More on that later. But the fact that, and I've been saying this for a long time, that I couldn't wait for the day that Hasbro decided to just have something in stock, and here it is with Nemesis Immortal. But if you'll notice in these product shots, we've got, as often happens, we've got a character up in the background there, a mystery character in both of these photos. Now, in this first one, a little less distinct, but then in the second one, you can see that saber or scimitar or whatever that is over its head. So my initial speculation was maybe this is a royal guard that look. Uh-oh. Hang on just a minute. Speaking of royalty, let's look right up at the
Hey.
nose of our pal Legion Cub.
Right?
He's vertical.
He's getting set up. You might not have been ready to come in yet, huh?
So yeah.
Do you need a minute?
No, the camera they gave me does not work, so I'm actually having to use my phone.
Okay, all right. That's fine. We can handle this. We will persevere. So we were talking about this person up in the top right corner. My speculation was that it was a royal guard and that they could potentially have. Well, my hope for the royal guard is it will include different effect pieces so you can have different looking troops. Like one can look traditional, but maybe there's one that has two antennae like this appears to have. Maybe there's one that has a long battle skirt like this one appears to have. Like, I would love to see that interchangeability. However, on the old hiss tank, and I cannot remember who said it because I couldn't save the information at the time. If you are listening and you want your credit, hit us up at Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram, and we will credit you on the next live stream. I love this idea more than anything, and I didn't even really know who this character was, but take a look at that silhouette up there, and then check this out.
And that's exactly when I saw that, I was like, that's Bludgeon. Because I saw some speculation that it was Budo. I was like, I don't think it's Budo. I think that looks like Bludgeon. It looks like the version they did as the Collector's Club figure.
Now I understand why on the socials I was seeing a lot of people posting Bludgeon stuff.
And I will say this, I have never been a fan of Budo. As a matter of fact, if you guys remember, in the early days of Needless Things on YouTube, I got someone who on every G.I. Joe video I posted would comment something about Budo.
Yes.
It was wild. I've never been a fan of Budo. It's just my suspension of disbelief for G.I. Joe is pretty wild. But that look has just never worked for me. However, Samurai Robot from Cybertron, let's freaking go.
And it makes sense if we are tying this in with the Energon universe and what's going on in the comics.
And he would absolutely be an enemy of Nemesis Immortal. Because that's the whole thing we're building towards, is organic versus sentient robot. So, man, I hope that's. I mean, I feel like at this point I'm convinced, but we'll see.
I hope so, because God knows we need a decent Bludgeon figure. Tom
Henry says that kind of repetitive people are whack. Anyways, Fang 2025. Road Pig John, as stated, he cannot do anything about his camera position, so we will go with long Kristian for the evening. So yeah, that was.
You're lucky you're getting what you.
Right? You should be happy he's here at all. So. We already talked a little bit about Nemesis Immortal. Kristian, did you order Nemesis Immortal?
I did. I actually
look at that.
Oh. Got him.
Yeah, he came
work and everything.
Yeah, he came in on Saturday, and I haven't had a chance to look at him, so I brought him to work today so I could open him on my lunch break. And most important thing, first off, was getting rid of the leg bolsters.
That's the first
The-
thing I did.
They're just in the way.
And they just look weird. They don't look
Yeah.
organic. But like without him, I think he's great. Even though they were on the original figure.
I do like that the octopus back actually has a little beak.
Yeah, it's so creepy. Well,
Yeah.
did you notice even his wings have little mandibles at the top? It's gross.
I did not.
Yeah, there's little mandibles right at the top of his wings. But yeah, I
Huh.
like cephalotod is what I'm calling this little fellow.
Said I did not order them just because, again, I'm trying to cut down on what I'm collecting right now. But like watching that video, I was close. I was like, he looks so great, but just like, what am I going to do with him? He's as wide as the shelf.
Well, and once you go, because he's a different level of fantasy for classified. So he'd be like the potato chip. Like once you get Nemesis Immortal, you're saying, okay, I guess I'm in on all the really weird
You're
stuff.
going full Cthulhu.
Right. So I understand not wanting to succumb to the temptation there.
But if they do a Pythona, I'm going to have to get a Pythona in my collection.
Well, see, and it's going to be the same thing once you've got her. Rexship 85. What in the world are you talking about? Were you able to slide your holsters off the figure? Did you have to cut them? I didn't have to cut them.
No, they just slid right off.
Yeah, there were little nubs that you had to like pull out and over, but I didn't even.
Oh no! I gave him a shot of tequila, whispered sweet nothings in his ear, and they just slid right down.
He's got these little nubs right here that I had to pull them out and over the little nubs, but no, I absolutely didn't have to cut them.
And he's taller than your standard classified figure too.
Oh yeah,
he's like slaughter height.
He's taller and he's like twice as wide. I mean, he is a big boy.
No, I will not be displaying mine with the wings. Like if I want to do photography and stuff, I'll put them on. But space wise, yeah.
See,
with them, he takes up a lot of room.
The wings are the selling point. Like seeing him with them all outstretched, that's what I think looks great. Like if I got him, I'd probably just hang him from the ceiling.
And that's probably my plan for mine. Although, so right now on my I can't put this stuff anywhere yet table, I've got Nemesis Immortal. I've got Starduster. And I've got Raptor. All people who need to hang from the ceiling. And you guys, I can't find my fishing line. And I know I've got a ton of it left, so I don't want to buy another spool, even though it costs like nothing.
Like $3.
It's the principle of it, is I know it's around here somewhere. So they're just sitting over here for right now.
This is the reason why I have 27 pairs of toenail clippers in my house. Because I can never find them when I need them. And I use them for like cutting up like toy packages. That's really the main reason why I have them.
Yeah.
But like I'll just like I'm at the dollar store and let me go grab another one. And here's the one I was missing, and now I have a drawer full of them, but I can never find them when I need them.
Yeah, I've got nail clippers at my desk. I've got them at the toy workbench. I've got them in the car just for opening stuff in the car. Like they're actually great little just mini scissors for anything. Rex 85 is trying to think of how to have Nemesis fighting his incoming Dragonfly. I think it would be awesome to have the Dragonfly hanging, have Nemesis in front of it, like ripping the cockpit off. Although I don't know if the cockpit's going to be fully removable or not, but that would look killer. Although he would, I guess, be getting chopped to pieces by the blades, so that would be a problem.
I wonder how detachable the struts are, because you could have him holding on and pulling them down.
Yeah, and honestly, if he put, with the way those wings are depicted, if he put that up, it would just shred the rotors on the helicopter. So anyway, we've got other things to talk about. Oh, Kristian, real quick, before we move too far on, did you want to talk about the Frag Viper and Blowtorch at all? Do you have any particular insight on those?
No.
Okay. All right, so moving on to other reveals that we're going to have a lot to talk about. Did you guys order the Trench Viper and the Cobra portable sanitation unit?
No, I did not.
I did
Me
not.
either.
Honestly, the thing I'd be most excited about is that whole set of those sandbags.
Yeah, I like the sandbags a lot.
But I'm sure you can find like 1/12 scale model sandbags at a hobby shop somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah, I was close. But I think I told you guys in the chat, people on Etsy that made the old school version of the bunker, you can get unpainted ones now for like $60 something. And I would much rather have a vintage looking, a bunker that looks like a bunker.
Well, and that's the thing is, I don't even necessarily need it to like. I would love to see the original version, but I don't necessarily even need it to look like that. But I do need it to look cool. And honestly, this just doesn't look cool to me.
Mm-mm.
I don't. This just is not up my alley. This is the Blue Ninja of dioramas.
Yep.
And well, and the funny thing is, so looking at this picture, there are at least 5 in this picture, I guess, but you could only buy 3 at a time.
Well, it's 5 on top, and then is that they also stacked
no,
on
because
top of ones below?
The walls are spread out. So
okay.
This is actually only like 2 on top. And I think maybe 4 on the bottom. But whatever the case, it's more than 3.
It's more than the limit.
The limit was 3. So that was a weird thing as well. And look, if you look at where these are joined together, these massive gaps in between them, I like what they were going for, but I just don't feel like they executed it particularly well.
Nope.
The Trench Viper is very cool, but certainly not a must-have in any way. I'll be interested to see how these do, and this is a portion of what we're going to get. D Griff is hanging out and saying it's numbered, therefore I was compelled to order one, and that's your completists are getting at least one. I'm sure some folks, people who do figure photography and customization, are probably going to want these parts just to try different things out with. I think it's going to sell well enough, but I think a different execution would have sold better. Kristian, you don't agree?
I don't, and I'm looking at Star Wars for my proof, because this is the same sort of stunt that Hasbro has pulled with almost every single Star Wars playset they've given us. And while, like the Bespin, that Bespin playset is no good unless you buy 2. And it's
I don't necessarily agree with that, but the price was so high for one.
Right.
And that's the problem with all these. And Star Wars is actually a good correlation, because Star Wars is actually releasing movie accurate, screen accurate dioramas, and they're not doing so well. This is like a made up thing that doesn't even look that cool. So yeah, it's a good point. Although Joe is so hot right now.
I hope it does well enough that they want to make more stuff like this, just not this. But my gut feeling is we're going to see these marked down, at least on like the other online retailers.
Was it available other places? I was thinking it was just Pulse.
Was it?
I might be wrong, but I feel like Heavy Duty or Big Bad only had Heavy Duty and didn't have this, was my thinking. Hang on, I'm checking right now.
Yeah, I was checking Big Bad too.
If I can get to their classified stuff.
Yeah,
it was just Heavy Duty.
Yeah.
I think these are Pulse exclusive, which is, that's how they tested the Vamp to see how it did. So if
whenever
this
they have
hit-
their big 30% off sale, I'm sure that they'll be one of the ones that gets marked down.
I'm thinking that's pretty likely. So yeah, there's that. But then there's that. Oh baby, heavy duty looks awesome. Now we'll open it up to criticism. Kristian, I'm sure you have thoughts about those missiles.
Yeah, but they've said they will fit inside.
Well, they fit inside, but when they're seated, they look like that. So they don't fit, they're just in there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They
I guess
don't look real good.
What do you mean?
Well, they're just sitting in there. It's like
Well,
a hot dog.
what are they supposed to do?
It looks like a hot dog in a hallway. Like it should fill up that. Where's the exit?
I don't think that's.
It's not necessarily it should fill it up. It should be centered in it and not just drooping down.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's
the one on the left, to our left, that launcher, like the one on the bottom left on that right side launcher looks fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other one does look like it's like drooping down.
Well, both of them are just like here's.
Well,
I realize you probably can't see
sad
the picture
because
that well.
it has not been shot yet. Like
so here's the tube.
uh-oh.
And the missile, I know, right? The missile is just like this. Like it should be in the center at least, but it's not. It's just sitting there. It doesn't look great. But again, I'm sure you'll be able to go on Etsy or whatever.
I'm so thankful for the visual aid.
Yeah, well, sometimes you've got to take one step beyond here. But otherwise, Heavy Duty looks awesome. I am absolutely thrilled with this figure, who is a character that I have no attachment to. He's after my time. Oh, well, I say he's after my time, but I have many Heavy Duties because I was actively collecting in the early 2000s when they released lots of Heavy Duties. He was just one that I was buying because it was G.I. Joe, though. I didn't really have any attachment to him.
They just couldn't sell roadblocks at the time, so they just used Heavy Duty in his stead.
I mean, he just looks awesome. The head with the hat is awesome. The head with the haircut is awesome. Like all of it, everything about this, I absolutely love. The modular, what is it called? One man turret system, whatever it is. I'm stoked for this. Jeff Butler says, I think Hot Dog in a Hallway was a Deke episode featuring Heavy Duty and Metalhead. I think you're correct, and we're just going to leave it at that. Yorktown Joe says the Trouble Bubble is exclusive and still up for sale at full price. What? Those are still available on Pulse? I didn't even realize that.
They came back.
Okay. All right, so yeah, super stoked about Heavy Duty, regardless of the missile tube status, and then Trench Viper with Porta Potty, maybe not so much. And that brings us to, believe it or not, Destro and his banana, which signals the beginning of the segment where you, the Audible Army, interact directly with us, your hosts, in Sound Off, where you tell us what you want us to talk about. We've got some pretty decent stuff here tonight. First up, from Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram. Every single time we do a live stream, early in the day, we'll put up a post that says Sound Off. That's where you can give us your input. And our first input for this episode is from Silent Interlude. For anybody that doesn't know, right here on the Needless Things YouTube channel, I reviewed the first season of Operation Monster Force over the past 2 weeks. All 8 reviews are available now. In my reviews of Monster Force, I said they would fit in well with classified figures, which, by the way, I have slightly revised that opinion. I've also said that, in my opinion, the Super 7 Reaction Plus and Hasbro Retros don't fit in with vintage O-rings. What do you think specifically about whether or not the other O-rings fit in with vintage? My opinion is that Strike Force Alpha and Heavy Armor Toys and the one, he meant to say dude, but he said dud, that Zika Toys made. They're definitely pretty different, but the Delta 17 and Callsign Longbow Skeletron figures are pretty darn close to vintage. Keep up the good work. So I've established that I'm pretty freaking picky about my aesthetics and about what I think fits with what. During the Operation Monster Force reviews, I did say I think they fit with Classified because aesthetically, proportionally, size-wise, they do. However, the painted detail on the Operation Monster Force figures, whether it's the camo or the wear or just the faces or whatever, for me personally, I couldn't actually put them on the shelf with my Classified. Others will have, like, form-wise, yes, they match up, but detail-wise, they just look like a different
But what
toy
about,
offering.
so not even like the monster figures, because they would have a different kind of look, paint look to them anyway.
Yeah, they just don't. It's a difficult line. Classified looks like a mass-produced line. Monster Force looks like an independently produced line. They are both great in their way, but Classified has that. I can't quite define it. And it's me. Look, that's me. Others are going to be fine. Like this Iron Grenadier bat, you could probably throw in with your Sleepwalkers and it would be fine. However, the Sleepwalkers have paint apps that are like wear and grime and stuff that none of the Classified figures really have. So to me, to my eye, that makes them stand out as different. You guys know how I feel about pre-made dirt on my toys.
I was going to say, I think what you're saying is that Classifieds needs to have more wear and grime.
That is
and
not
we
at
should
all.
get a his tank with some mud on it.
That is not at all what
Big
I'm
old
saying.
treads.
And as far as the O-rings, Delta 17, it can go right next to your vintage Joes. I really, they're so darn close. They could be 87 Joes. To be honest, as much as I love the Skeletron figure, the gloss isn't the same on it. Same thing with Strike Force Alpha. Like, they didn't quite get the gloss right. And then what else have we got? Oh, the Ghost.
I was going to say, what about Ghost?
Delta 17 is the only one that's gotten the gloss right, in my opinion.
Okay.
And look,
right now, my Ghost is on my shelf with some of my vintage, and other than his accessories, I would think this is an old school figure.
I'm not saying you can't put all these things together. I'm saying I can't put all these things together because to my eye, just that difference in the plastic sheen doesn't pass muster. Then that's not to say they're not fantastic figures. They are. They're great O-ring figures, and I'm buying them all. But if my intent were, oh well, anything I buy has to be compatible with Vintage Joe, like side by side, then I wouldn't be buying this stuff. But that's not my intent. My intent is these are separate collections. Just like my intent with Reaction Plus, that's a separate collection. Just like my intent with any modern day Hasbro O-rings, that's a separate collection. Those don't mix. They just don't to me.
With anything.
Yeah. All right. Moving along. Do you guys have any further input on that? I know you're not really as Noel.
I agree with you about the Strike Force Alpha, although I do have the villains with my Cobra figures. Just because the alien ones look kind of cool.
Yeah, no, they're great figures, and man, they're close. Hang on.
But I would say for blending in with the vintage ones, to me, Delta 17 and Call Sign Longbow Ghost do it.
Like, that's great. And to the casual observer, that fits in with O-Ring Joes.
But they are really glossy.
Figure. But yeah, the O-rings, those original vintage Joes, and it's the same thing. Actually, we were talking about the those Hasbro WWF figures earlier, and how many people are doing new versions of those. That's before you got in. I got this Mark Maro from an independent company who has gotten just progressively better and better and better as he's gone on. And as you can see, form factor wise, this is indistinguishable from a 90s Hasbro WWF figure. But I can tell he doesn't quite have that Hasbro gloss. Like that, it's just how, I guess, how they treat the plastic or whatever.
Is it called gloss on wrestling photos or figures, or is it sweat?
Is it sweat? Yeah, it's more of a sheen on those.
Maximum sweat figures.
I've got a ton of maximum sweat figures. I loved those things. All right, moving on. Pavloft has some really good points here. So first, have you looked at the awesome Zika Eagle 1976 playset, No Ring Astronauts? At minimum, the astronauts would go great with Joe's. Also, please refer to toys you are reviewing and or referencing on the podcast by name. Several times over the past couple podcasts, you refer to things as it or this because you have images you're looking at when you're doing the YouTube stream. I only listen on podcast and have no clue to what you're referencing, and sometimes the context clues don't help. Yo, Joe. Pavloft, you are absolutely correct. And I'm glad you pointed it out because I didn't realize we were doing it. And I have the exact same issue with the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, which I've mentioned many times. Is like it's the one I listen to as soon as it drops. They do the same thing. So I'll say two things about that. One, watch the YouTube. It's worth it. But two, yes, we will be better about that. Because you are right. We produce this as an audio podcast as well, and it needs to be just as accessible for the audio listeners as it is for the people hanging out on YouTube.
Look, I can sympathize because I watch all of my video podcasts. I listen to only as audio because I'm doing it while I'm doing something else that is going to occupy the eyes. The ears can multitask. The eyes, yeah, the eyes got to be doing something else.
All right. Oh yeah. So here we go. This is what he was referencing, the Zika Space 19, what is it?
What? 1999.
Well, yeah, but they're calling it something different.
Because that's when the initial toy or the initial
that's when the show was out.
Show came out. Yeah.
That's an Eagle 1. That's what the ships were called in the show. Well,
this is Eagle 1976. It's a Kickstarter right now. Oh, it's already been canceled, so never mind.
Oh,
I had not seen this.
Wait. It was canceled today.
Oh,
I am a big Jerry Anderson fan, and I listen to the podcast that his son does, and they're pretty hardcore when it comes to
copyright.
Yeah.
Well, no, this says wait. This says officially licensed product through our partnership with ITV and Anderson Entertainment.
Oh wow!
So this was licensed.
When did it go
live? I would like to note it's coming from Zika and Giant Leap Toys, and I thinking this thing was going to fund at 300 and where'd the levels go? Thinking this was going to fund at $329 a pop was a bit of a giant leap.
And when did this thing go live?
It depends on how many. It depends on how many they had to sell, because at least through the Jerry Anderson website, they have sold 1/1 replicas of like the Thunderbird puppets that are $700-800 a pop. They're an extremely limited run,
right?
But that fandom, because there's so little merchandise still made,
right? I mean, look, this thing looks really cool. It's 36 inches long, which is a big chunk of real estate.
That's big.
Astronauts look really cool.
Yeah.
It's got a little command center or whatever in there. I didn't save all the pictures because, to be honest, I just didn't care enough about this to dip too far into it. Because
Well,
I know,
am glad to find out that this exists, or
and
was potentially being made.
And that's kind of where I'm at with the show. Like, I know it exists. I've never dipped into it. I know it's huge on the classics track.
I know that when I used to play Star Wars with my friend, one of my friends when I was growing up, and when I played with him, we actually just picked and chose, and so we built our own army, like going back and forth to choose who was going to be on whose sides. And I always picked he had the Eagle One toy from like 1976 or 77 when it first came out.
Okay, I'm not going to tangent. I'm just going to very quickly say, because the two seasons are polar opposites in theme. So if you like philosophical sci-fi, season 1, you're going to love. If you like camp sci-fi and Brian Blessed, season 2 is where you want to go.
Oh, you just sold me. That's all I needed to hear. I'm in.
Watch the opening 2-parter of season 2.
Maybe it's on Tubi or something.
It is.
Okay, perfect.
Or it was.
I'll check it out. So yeah, now in answer to Pavel's inquiry, yes, we have looked at it, and no, apparently it is not happening. And it may be a deal, kind of like with Legends of the Hidden Forest, where they're having to retool the structure of the Kickstarter and figure out a different way to approach it, because they were not, as of November 4th. Let's see, it launched. Oh, it doesn't. I don't think it says when it launched.
Yeah, I was trying to find that on the site and I couldn't see it. But they only had 139 backers.
And this is already raising red flags of.
Yeah, they were about 20-something% of.
Yeah, it was $43,000 of their $250,000 goal. So not setting any records over here. All right, moving on to we already did that. There we go. Todd Brattrud. Random thought daydream. What if Super 7 keeps making their cartoon and comic-based simplified Reaction Plus? I take a little bit of issue with that. And Hasbro ends up reissuing updated Joes. I have to take issue with that as well, in the style they have been doing in the Transformer mashups. I don't feel like this will happen, but it would be cool if it did. I don't necessarily view Super 7s as simplified, and I don't necessarily view I guess Hasbro's are updated in that they're using different materials, but I really kind of just look at them as different and not updated. Same thing with Super 7, really. They're just different because they're adapting the cartoons and the comics. I think these things are happening. Super 7 is going to keep making these because thus far they seem to have been a smashing success. And Hasbro, we know they've got at least one more mashup. Well, we don't know. The rumor is they have at least one more mashup coming, and I don't know how successful those have been. But yeah, I mean, I want any G.I. Joe to keep coming. Bring it all on.
I just want Super 7, since we're doing mashups, I just want Super 7 Reaction Plus to do a set that is Old Snake and Rodimus, Ultra Magnus, Springer, and RC in O-rings.
Yeah. That seems.
Seeing as how they have the Transformers license to do Ultimates, that seems very possible.
Well, and Reaction.
Reaction.
Transformers Reaction. For a matter of fact, they just released a new set of blind box Transformers with some really cool looking colorways.
And they're all ripped open at Target. Every last one of them.
Dude, I've never even seen. I want the Sesame Street blind boxes, and I can't find them anywhere.
Oh, I've seen the Sesame Street reactions, but not the blind boxes.
Well,
but also going back to earlier, their Ultimates Bludgeon is a great figure.
Are you saying Bludgeon? Is that how that's pronounced?
Bludgeon.
I think it's just Bludgeon, but I think Bludgeon sounds better if he's a Transformer.
I do like Bludgeon.
I think Bludgeon is that's more robotic sounding than just Bludgeon.
Yeah, I agree.
Bludgeon.
Bludgeon was a metal synth band in 1986.
And they eat a lot of eggs. But unfortunately, like all the Ultimates figures are like, same scale. And I feel like if you're I'm gonna sound like Dave for a second. If you're gonna mix your Transformer Ultimates with your Joes, then they need to be scaled up some.
Yeah. Well, no, aren't we talking? I think Noel was referencing them in their human forms. They'd be O-rings.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
with their little overalls in
The
their
best-
Right.
in their robot colors.
the best we're getting, because Super 7 does the Super Cyborgs and the larger scale ones that I can't remember what they're called. The Shogun, I think,
Mhm.
Super Shogun. What do you guys think? I think for display, just putting it on the shelf purposes, I think the 12-inch Super Cyborgs are big enough to go alongside your reaction figures if you're doing Transformers. But realistically, it should probably be the 24-inch Super Shoguns, right?
Depends on the Transformer.
I was gonna say, when you look at the Sunbow cartoon, not really, because
No.
after he transforms, Bumblebee is not that much taller than Spike.
Well, yeah, Bumblebee. I mean, Bumblebee could almost just be an ultimate, but like
Look,
Prime and Megatron, like at
when it
least
comes to
Super
when it comes to
Cyborg.
mass shifting, come on, anything's
Well,
possible.
yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Just by the reactions, you're fine.
You're like, hey, we got this 40-foot tall robot. Let's just have him turn into a microcassette player
Right.
that
Yeah.
Spike can just find and pick up and put in his pocket.
Good point. Putting too much thought into the scale of Transformers is an exercise in futility. Let's move on. Yorktown Joe, who was hanging out earlier but may not be here anymore. Of all the ways you have collectibles delivered, which is your favorite delivery carrier? Which is the least favorite, and why is it DHL? Delivery happening later. Yes, DHL I think is the worst. Although I will say, the last two things that DHL delivered actually got here a few days before the original estimated delivery date, but it still takes too long because the last 3 days of the delivery time are when they drop it off at the post office and it sits there for 3 days. I still say DHL is the worst. USPS and FedEx are about tied for me. What about you guys?
Yeah, since USPS has gotten so much better with tracking, because at
Yeah.
one time USPS was an abomination. That's why, I mean, people use UPS and FedEx because it was so much better to track stuff and they got there faster. But I mean, like, honestly, I get stuff shipped USPS all the time, and I get it in like 2-3 business days, and it's I got a tracking number the whole way. My only issue with USPS is that we've got a really terrible driver that delivers in my neighborhood and often marks things as shipped mark things arrive when they haven't actually arrived.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So yeah, I would say FedEx, USPS, UPS, DHL, and maybe put a warthog pulling a red wagon above DHL.
Pony Express.
Pony Express. All right. I think we got a couple more. Tom Henry. Who can guess what he's going to say? Well, my Big Bad Toy Store pre-order of Cobra Commander finally hit my doorstep today. Weird that it took so long. Sure do wish there was a Fang for him to pilot. Anyways, which Joe do you think is most likely to be a crust punk in their off-duty life? Battle jacket, studs, chains, getting slipped 20s from their suburban moms. I would say Falcon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we actually have the best. I'd say the best crust punk analog we have in GI Joe is Thrasher, because that's essentially what he is.
Right. But
if we're talking the Joe team,
right?
Leatherneck. 100%. If you spent any time online in the late 90s, early 2000s, that there's a certain branch of the military they like to let loose.
Well, all right.
All right.
There you go.
I would say for my Joes, it would probably be Tunnel Rat. That would be my best guess at being a crust punk.
Okay. Interesting.
He did spend a lot of time on the streets.
And finally, from Sneezy the Squid, our pal Gary Mitchell from the Dragon Con American Sci-Fi Classics Trek. So you said that you won't add reviews of Void Rivals to the rotation, but would you consider just giving a recap of here's how Pythona has been causing problems in space? No, because that would lead to us doing recaps. Like, there's no way we would be able to just say in like a sentence, here's what's happening. It's not possible.
I don't.
However,
actually, that seems just twisted enough. Where once a month, we just write one sentence of what Pythona did without any context clues, and we just have a Pythona moment. Like, Pythona walked through a door.
Kristian, you know what that's called? That's called volunteering.
There we go.
Congratulations. You are now responsible. You are now responsible for the Pythona report. Coming soon to an Audible Interlude live stream near you. Rachel says, DHL took 15 days to deliver a retro Cobra Trooper from Pulse. That is preposterous. Tom.Henry says, Fang! I cannot wait to actually get the Fang announcement. That's going to be a glorious day. Yorktown Joe, 100%. FedEx should be for Pulse Premium. I agree. And I'll tell everybody this. I did submit through their customer service interface on Pulse. I submitted contact saying that if DHL going forward is going to be their carrier of choice for premium, that I would be rethinking renewing my premium membership. And that is a fact, because I'd rather pay more to get it in 2 days than have it take 10 days to get here for free.
Or like what happened with my call sign Longbow Ghost. They marked it as delivered. And remember, you had mentioned, oh, that means I might have just delivered it to the post office.
Right.
Which didn't turn out to be the case. But 3 days later, after they said it was delivered, it miraculously showed up.
Yeah, that's I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, that brings us to the end of the sound off. Do you fellas have a Joe and Tell this evening?
I do.
All right. Then it is time now for the final segment of the show. That is Joe and Tell, sponsored by Slickalicious. Check out Shop Slickalicious on Instagram. Slickalicious is a great designer of clothing and pop culture fashion items, responsible for a number of our t-shirt designs. Has been an absolutely great partner for getting that merch out there. We appreciate it. Kristian, what is your Joe and Tell? Your long Kristian Joe and Tell.
So according to this YouTube channel, Music Monsters and Legends or something like that. Anyway,
cite your sources.
Right. Well, I don't want to be stealing from people. But so their newest episode was about the Dino De Laurentiis King Kong. And something I did not know was
which one is that? Is that the
70s one?
70s one, okay.
Yeah. Peter Cullen actually provided the growling monkey voice for Kong.
Really?
Yes. And it's amusing when you're watching a website or you're watching a video of someone that's super into sci-fi, knows all these ins and outs, really doesn't know who Peter Cullen is. And it's like this voice actor, Peter Cullen, and of course all the comments and like Optimus Prime, like, yeah. But I just thought that was really cool. I did not know that before.
That's an excellent piece of trivia. I like it. Noel, you got a little Joe and Tell?
I do. And this was actually a follow-up to what I was looking for last time. I have a Garfield roller burger little
Whoa.
folder here. But, while that's pretty awesome that I used to carry my school papers to this back in 1985 or whatever, what's inside
Oh,
is a little
boy.
more interesting. So
Oh, man.
these are, some of my little designs that I have discussed and briefly
Whoa!
shared. This was, one of my little childhood card backs that I drew with all of my Joe characters from that year,
That's
and the previous
amazing.
years, Joe. So you can see our gung ho and our jinx. So this was going to slot in '88 is when this would have actually popped up. And this is my Rockets. He's my secret agent character that I designed back in the day. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. I'm obviously not going to reveal all of it here because that will take
we've
us
got to
the rest
save
of
it.
the day.
Save it.
But so in one half of this is my Joe stuff, and the other half of it, I also designed a lot of Transformers. This was my all boats combiner team that I came up with
Wow.
back in the day. Yeah, so one day
That's
maybe that'll get
amazing.
shared out bit by bit over the years.
No. Child Noel's attention to detail. Like most people are going to be looking at all of the characters that you drew. I'm sitting here in awe that you included a UPC symbol.
Yes.
Well, of course.
Like,
Yeah.
that is attention to detail. Or attention to Noel. Noel to detail.
So, Yorktown Joe has a very good point. Pythona wants you to like this video, people. That's right. Everybody throw us a like, throw us a share, do the thing you want to do. And I will just real quick, I don't really have a Joe and Tell, but I will put a challenge out there. You may have noticed throughout this episode, I have got a mighty, bulky Hulkbuster behind me. Target had their 25% off deal, so I grabbed this, which this to me is what I need my Hulkbuster to look like. It's the comic version. I think it looks incredible. Here is the challenge, though, for those of you out there that customize. I would like to see, and I don't care if it's this one or the MCU one or the Diamond Select one, whatever. But I want somebody out there to do an Iron Grenadiers Hulkbuster. Because it's pretty close already. But I can visualize that. And actually, having said that, I wonder if the gold Destro head would fit on this. Oh, man. Okay. Noel and Kristian, talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
Oh. He did this to me earlier, too, and I was all by myself, and I was like, what am I going to do?
Well, I mean, Romanesque architecture in the Byzantine era. It's neither busy nor texture. Disgust.
The Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. Discuss. I guess I can maybe do one more tease while we're waiting here. Oh, I don't know. What do I have here? Because this is the one that I know I shared this one a while back. Because this was the cover of my catalog with my new he was going to be my new signature character for the year. I can't remember what his name is. But the new Joe leader that was going to be the head of our new cartoon and or movie in '88.
I don't know if this Destro's head is even going to come off that easily. Because, these were not... Oh, it popped right off. Oh, man. Hang on. We might be getting ready to witness some magic here.
That was the most joy I've seen somebody removing a head ever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too... I mean, it could... Well, I don't know. It looks like it's the right size. Hang on.
We're back to the heavy duty discussion. As for our listeners, that aren't watching the live stream as Dave tries to figure out, can this peg fit in this hole?
Oh my.
I mean,
yeah,
kind of.
it's a little
Not
creepy.
really. Well,
It's almost like the comic book version of the monkey guy from
oh,
Umbrella Academy, because that
Yeah,
head is
the
just
Stark-
way tiny.
the Stark head sits lower, like looks more like it's supposed to look.
It still looks like a decapitated head. Just
That's accurate to his appearance at
True.
the end of Infinity War. I don't know, with a little work, that could work. So there we go. Live experimentation here on Audible Interlude. Okay, the Stark head fits on a lot better. We're just going to put that over to the side here because guess what? We are done for the week. Once again, we've had a wonderful time talking about G.I. Joe. Our music is by Andy Samford of electricminnowmusic.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast and on X at G.I. Joe Audible. Noel, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Finest?
The Finest is an international G.I. Joe costuming club that raises money for a fantastic organization called Canines for Warriors. I know that later on this month, I'm going to be at Retro Toy Con with my garrison, the Southern Command. That's going to be in Greenville, South Carolina. So if you are in the area, drop by and also just come to that show because it's a really fun toy show.
And Kristian, where can we find that toy photography that you do so well?
You can find me on Instagram under the name Legion Cub.
Well, guys, I've had a wonderful time once again talking about G.I. Joe. Thank you to the both of you. You are the highlights of my week every week. Everybody hanging out in the chat, thank you for hanging out. Throw us a like, share the channel. That's the best way to support us, is to share these videos all over the social media and everywhere else. We will be back a week from today, same Audible time, same Audible channel, for a live review of G.I. Joe #1 from Skybound and Image Comics. And until then, yo, Joe.
Oh,
La 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 la.